Alright, hi everybody. This is GeoWill from Productions², and we're back to do another reaction video for episode 2 of the Expanse season 4. So last time on episode 1, we kind of got introduced to the story in terms of what's going to be happening. Most of the characters are back. Most of the main characters anyway from the last season. Rosarala is now the leader of the UN. General, I forget what it's called. It's something the President General or something of the UN. The gate's been locked down. They're controlling who goes in and out of it. For the most part, there's been some breaches of the protocol and whatnot. Some belters broke through the blockade of the ring and managed to get through it. Everybody from the Rocinante is still there. The Rocinante is the Rocinante again. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much not too much has changed from the last season. So some things that have changed, though. Some major things that have changed. There's now a treaty between the Earth, Mars, and the Belt. They have agreed to not fire at each other, and to, I think it's, part of the treaty was to police their own citizens if they started attacking other groups, any of the other two. So we kind of get a scene with Ashford where he's out in a really crappy, beat-up looking ship, hunting down some Belter rebels who apparently have decided to split off from the OPA and are have created their own group and are attacking the UNM and MCRN ships that are that go through the area for supply routes and whatnot. Bobby is no longer in the MCRN. After the events of Season 3, apparently there was a trial held for a bunch of Marines were essentially, I don't know if they were court-martialed, but they were at least discharged from service dishonorably and stripped of all their pensions and whatnot, all their benefits. So she's now, seems like she's now from what it looked like in the episode, she's now a engineer or like a ship repair, part of a ship repair service or something, because we see her working on a ship in the first episode. She's living with her relatives, either her sister-in-law or sister or brother-in-law, one of the two. And we kind of get introduced to some new characters. There's Irana. I forget what the husband's name is, and then there's a nephew named David. There, like I said, there's some hints about there maybe being some internal friction with the Belters, maybe pointing towards a civil war eventually. The Behemoth's been renamed to Medina Station. But it's still in the, I guess, still in the gate, in the station area. What else is there? Any major stuff? There's a Amos Clarissa ship going on, kind of hinted at in the beginning. Apparently, Ganymede is no longer colonized. Apparently, it sounds like that the Ganymede colony failed in the time between the two seasons. So those are all like the major changes that have happened so far in between the seasons. Now for the story. So, episode 1 kind of lays out a scenario where we have these Belters going through, and they break through the blockade and end up going to 4 different worlds. And I think over the course of a year, nothing is heard back except from three of them, but one of them has been communicating back, and they've managed to set up a colony on the surface of this planet that they're calling Ilis, and have managed to adapt to it. So, those who don't know, Belters, growing up in space, they don't have the same physical development that the Earthers or Martians had, because they grew up on a planet with gravity, so their muscular and bone structure are much more advanced and more and are stronger than the Belters, because they grew up in an environment with no gravity. That being the case, they can't normally survive on a planet without some sort of extensive training or some sort of drug therapy to also, accelerate the growth of their muscles and their bone structure, bone mass, and along with strength training and things like that. Which apparently this colony did do, and were able to then go down and colonize it. So there's a corporation, we don't know what the corporation's name is, I don't think yet, that sent out a, I think it's probably a feasibility research vessel study, a vessel to do a feasibility research study to see how likely or how affordable or how profitable it would be to mine Ilis. From what was described, the planet has a huge amount of lithium in it. Lithium is one of the rarest elements on Earth that we use heavily. It's used in all kinds of things like batteries, rechargeable batteries, and it's not super rare like a platinum or something, but it's rare enough that it's hard to get. And this planet Ilis apparently has just loads of it. So I think they were going there to do a feasibility research study on setting up a mining station on Ilis to mine lithium. And the ship's name is the Edward Israel. So they send out a skiff, and on the way down, the skiff ends up attacked by something and basically rips through the hull, leaves a lot of puncture holes. Large sections get ripped off eventually, and some people are thrown out through the holes, and then the thing just comes crashing down, and basically most of the crew, I think, dies. There's like I think, what did they say, 20? I don't think it was 20. I think it was like at most 13 or 14 that survived this crash. And the UMN wants to send out a team to research what happened and figure out if it was the Belters or something else. The reason for the something else is because they've seen through photographical and video evidence that there are structures that look like they're made out of protomolecule, or that are potentially built by protomolecule. So they're thinking this planet could be possibly another Eros. So they want to send out the Rocinante to investigate it. And that's how the whole thing gets started. There's a lot of character redevelopment, so we go through and basically we're catching up with the characters as we're going through it, for the most part. We see Kamina, who is not wearing the mech armor or the mech suit anymore. Apparently she had some sort of device implanted into her back that's helping regrow her spine. Again, Ashford, we see, is still, I think, second in command on the Behemoth, but he's also drawn the short straw or something, and is being forced to run security for the treaty and hunting down Belters that are not abiding by it. Again, the Amos and Clarissa thing. Naomi has a kind of weird haircut. Still kind of getting used to the way she looks now. We see Holden talking with his mother at the beginning about some of the stuff that transpired throughout the first couple of seasons. And Miller's also there. We also see that he's kind of glitching out, and that kind of makes sense because it seemed like he was only able to communicate clearly when Holden was pretty close to the station. So even with the station active, maybe the distance is still a little bit too much. And I also had some interesting ideas or theories or questions about what the hell's going on with Holden in the last video, or it might have been it was either the last reaction or was the reaction to the trailer, where I'm wondering if he's been infected by the protomolecule somehow, and it's progressed in an atypical fashion to the point where it's able to communicate with him in this way through Miller. Or if it's something completely different, something that we haven't seen yet before, maybe some other more advanced form of the protomolecule that is different from the stuff we've seen so far. The question is, where would he have come in contact with it? Because you're seeing Miller. So he started seeing Miller after he went into the ring, right? He didn't see it before. No, it was before. Because before they went in, he rushed up or went and told Alex to slow the hell down because he had deduced through what Miller was saying that if they went fast, they were going to, into the ring, they were going to end up pancaked like that Belter was in Season 3. So I think it was before, but it was when he was close to the ring. So he hadn't gone through the ring yet, so nothing could have happened to him there. And as far as I know, he never got exposed to anything that wasn't what we've already seen in terms of the protomolecule. And all the protomolecule tests he did on himself said they were negative. So either he is infected and it's mutated somehow or changed somehow that's not typical or that we haven't seen yet, or it's something not related to the protomolecule at all. It's something entirely different. Well, not maybe related to the protomolecule, but is not the protomolecule itself. So I'm not really sure. Well, let's see where that goes. It's kind of interesting stuff. So the Restante gets there. On the way there, they're showing Naomi going through that pharmaceutical therapy to beef up her muscles and her bone structure, and doing physical training for that. In addition to that, too, to get ready to step foot on this planet. And let's talk about, let's see, who else do we see? Oh, yes. Mozzarella is Mozzarella times 50 in this one. She had some of the best lines in the first episode, including she had one of the best lines. She had the best one of her lines was the best line in the first episode. You can watch that reaction for that one, or watch the first episode for it. But I almost lost it when I heard her say it. It's like, what? So yeah, let's. I think that's everything. Oh, so when they get down there, they go to the Belter encampment, and where's my pen? Was it this one? I think it was this one. Never mind, it was that one. They go to the Belter encampment, and they meet up with the security officer, another new character. He was predominantly featured in the trailer. His name, I think, is Security Officer Murphy. I think that's what he is in his last name. I don't know if they said his first name yet. I didn't hear it. But they meet up with him. He kind of sort of explains a little bit about what happened. Then I'm not sure if he is an inner or if he's a Belter, because the Belters around him started calling him a traitor after he was talking to Holden, and some dude threw a giant rock at his face, which is kind of crazy. And then directly after that scene, we find out what actually happened to the ship that they came down in. There's like this swarm or cloud of things. I think they're probably some sort of protomolecule thing that come through and basically start tearing up things in their path. Putting large gashes of metal and tearing skin and things like that. And then they come in, they do that for a while, and they fly off. Holden manages to find one that was just sitting around. It just looks like a little, almost like Ninja Star looking thing. Not quite like that. But then as he's holding it, it like changes its shape. And the W2Fing begins. Literally. Everybody says, you know, what the hell. So I'll probably find out more about those in this episode and find out exactly what the hell's going on with this planet. So let me just... Alright, notes are ready to be taken. So this is called Jetsam, this episode. Try putting the microphone over here so I can get a little bit more. What the hell? Oh, this is one of his visions, okay. Interesting, that was Miller talking in his glitchy way. I'll have to come back to that. So definitely it's a protomolecule. Oh, they're tracking it, okay. Oh, it's one of the spires. Interesting. That's a bunch of people.
Very good in those boots, man. I have a good teacher.
No. Amos.
Okay, everybody.
Interesting. So that's what's going on there. She's visiting Mars. Secretary General, that's what it is.
Right. Do let us know if you learn anything that might be useful in our investigation. Demolition tech, third class treatment.
Okay, so she scraps ships, not repairs. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Alex with the false up. I'm betting he finds it pretty quick. So this is the crash site of that skiff they sent out.
God damn. I didn't even know this was this.
That's what I wanted to know. How so many people survive this stuff? Ship basically imploded.
It's like a plastic cap of you. It's mercury. Yes.
Mercury, okay. Or something like that. That's not Murphy. So there was sabotage too. It's interesting. Some sort of camera? Oh, it's a drone. Okay. Yeah, camera drone. So are these... is this like a remnant of a ship? Or is this something that was built up out of the ground? I bet Holden just touches this thing.
Radioisotope dating puts this structure at approximately 1.5 billion years old.
You don't see how strange that is? The local life forms are much, much younger than that. This structure predates multicellular life on this planet. It's been here since the only living things were bacteria analogs and whatever fills viral niches.
Yeah. Alex shutting it down. So go get him out. Alex is low-key like that. Amos isn't low-key at all. I haven't quite figured out that guy's character yet. Oh, her, yeah, okay.
Hold there, please.
Isn't she the one that just resigned?
Right here.
Maybe not.
Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
That's not the same actor, is it? I don't think it is. Note that down.
My dear friend, Admiral Michael.
Belters would do well to remember that.
Stenson. Yeah, he's from season 3, I think.
They want to head on us.
Have you decrypted the nav logs from the wreck?
Almost like. All done.
Good. Send that to me.
So I wonder what Ashford thinks. He's playing this a little interestingly.
So, first,
Side effects. Of the treatments, maybe? She wasn't ready. Pushed herself way to her. Call having a cardiac arrest, a little tired.
Overreacted. Got enough on his mind already. Please.
Don't make me put you back to sleep.
Come and work for me.
The hell? Restaurant. the two levels of restaurant. The I'll play the game level and the I'm gonna cut through the bullshit level. Another one of these. We're going to frack up this place. That's where we're going.
I'm in town. Keeping an eye on things, like Owen said.
Alright, well, Holden and I are going on this
Later.
mission.
What the hell? He's trading bullets for shots. Shots for shots. Something poetic about that. I think his girlfriend was that woman that was like going to that place before it got locked down that Bobby noticed. Thought she recognized. I think he's mixed up in something. Biohazard.
Problem. She was coming this way.
Oh, fuck this.
What the hell? That's gonna help him. Yeah, I don't think you guys are gonna take out a friggin' sergeant from the MCRN. Next time there won't be a next time. Awesome line. Nifty inventions. Basically super high-tech ballistics. Alden's like, I'm not so sure about this.
okay. A gun!
Back on serious. It's water theft. It's always a big problem. It's clogging up the works.
What? The vines.
Or root. Yeah.
Dragging me out into the middle of the night.
Hey, we're all this
The Midnight Gardener. James Alden.
flipping switches. Stuff that lasts for billions of years and can't handle a few
Yeah.
running your boots here. They built this stuff.
There are moments when Proto Miller seems like Miller. This is one of them. Light him up. No. Oh sh. Amos is like falling in love. No, we got movement. Okay. Holden's like, what the hell?
Jim, something's happening.
Yeah, the door's closing. Oh. So, does he make it up, or does he get trapped in there? Oh, yeah, he made it up. Okay, barely. No, jeez.
What the fuck was that?
Are these terraformers? Nah, couldn't be that. I have no idea. Holden's look was, hell if I know. Let's see, Spire. Let's see. So, let's go back. I want to go back and look at that Miller stuff. Beginning. The volume up a bit so we can see what it says. So what do we got here? Reach out and reach out. Reach out. Flip and flip and flip switches. The goddamn monkey sees something clicks. It's like corners and pockets or something. So what do we got here? And then zooms into this.
Back through the sensor log, see if you can trace where those things came from. Put every scope that's on the Israel down.
So what is something clicks. I can't tell what the last bit is. See something click. That's the first bit of it. There's another section of it later on. Oh, here it is.
Good night, men.
I gotta file a report. I gotta tell them that it's finished the paperwork. I know.
Gotta file a report.
Fuck these people. If they didn't see how glorious you are, they'd say.
I don't need you to save me. You don't owe me this.
Bobby,
Good night, ma'am.
Gotta file a report.
I gotta file a report. I gotta tell them that it's
Gotta file a report. Gotta tell him we did this.
finished the paperwork. I know.
Gotta finish the paperwork.
Oh, I know. Stop it. I'm doing what he wants.
So now I know. Stop it. I'm doing what it wants.
I gotta file a report. I gotta tell them that it's finished the paperwork. I know. Stop it. I'm doing what he wants.
I'm doing what it wants.
I gotta file a report. I gotta tell them that it's finished the paperwork. I know. Stop it. I'm doing what he wants. Stop it.
I think it's either it or you.
So what do we got here?
So, whatever, Okay. Alright, so that's interesting. So it sounds like Miller's conversing with... So in Season 3, Holden asks Miller if he's Miller, and Miller says yes and no, and says, think of me as the investigator, or something like that. So I'm wondering if part of what Miller is, or what's driving Miller, is some sort of program, or some sort of protomolecule thing. Maybe something not related to protomolecule, but that's built by the same people that made the protomolecule, that was supposed to investigate how the protomolecule was functioning as it was consuming more life. Because we've established that as it consumes life, it gets more complex. As it consumes different types of life, it gets even more complex. So, like, it absorbing human physiology allows it to eventually mimic human physiology and to adapt to it and adapt it to what it needs. Similarly to how it, absorbs pieces of Eros and is able to then convert it and use it to what it would need and modify it in ways that allow it to be used in the ways that it wants to use it. It's like turning Eros into like this movable thing that defies the laws of physics. So I'm wondering if this is something similar to that, or something that was observing that, and that also then was told to maybe they knew that the race that created the protomolecule knew that they were about to be wiped out, and they sent like a last kind of instruction to find what did it and to report back to the protomolecule. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But that's good. So that's some development there in terms of like what's going on with Miller. So there is some sort of intelligence driving Miller that's pushing on Holden to do stuff. In this case, he goes and he cuts this one vine out of it, and everything comes back to life. And then all of a sudden, it gets lightning starting to strike the ground. Actually, it's striking it in reverse too. That's the other thing. Lightning, the way lightning works is that you have positive and negative ions, and once they build up enough, the lightning strikes up from the ground to the clouds in the sky. It goes up, not down. This was coming down, which was interesting, or at least it seemed to be. Usually, it happens so quickly it looks like it's going down, because it's much faster than the human eye can see. When you see it going down, it's actually the electricity dissipating from the initial blast upward. You have to use a high-speed camera to kind of capture it properly. But there's like this lightning crap going on. Things are moving around. Things are waking up. So, yeah, Holden's definitely frickin' done something. So, what do we got? Not too much new stuff I wrote down in here. So, we learned that the spires are... I'm going to minimize this. We learned the spires are much older than the surrounding life, on the rest of the life on the planet. I think they said 1.3 billion years old, whereas the life that's currently on the planet is much younger than that. Then Holden mentions that protomolecule would wipe everything out. Then the planet would have to re-evolve, kind of. So, that seems to have happened. We found out that those bug things are actually some sort of protomolecule thing, and that they came from the spire. Or at least they went to the spire. We don't know where they came from, but we can assume they came from the spire. What else protomolecule stuff do we learn? That's really all we learned about the protomolecule on this new planet. We found out that there was a detonator that was found at the wreckage of the launch pad where the Edward Israel's skiff was landing at, which had led to the suspicion that somebody blew it up. Nobody so far has tested positive for protomolecule infection out of the colony, so that's an interesting and kind of strange fact, given that there's all this stuff around them that's made by the protomolecule, supposedly. What else is there? So, Ashford seems to know more than he's letting on about this whole situation with these rebel belters. More than what he's told even to Camilla. So it's interesting to see where that goes in the next episode. They've identified some like big shot, powerful belter that seems to have been if not in charge of, somehow responsible for the attacks. And they want to get Dawes and Johnson involved to set up a bounty for this guy. So that was interesting too. We learned that Naomi's been pushing herself way too hard. She's literally having a cardiac event or something. What else did I write down? Oh yeah, David, Bobby's nephew's girlfriend, is involved in some kind of mob or drug cartel sort of thing. They're producing drugs that help focus the mind, apparently, or something similar to that. And Bobby, being Bobby, she just kicks all their asses into the ground, almost kills a guy. And does their usual MCRN routine on their faces, which was awesome to see. Yeah, you don't pick fights with an MCRN sergeant unless you have a death wish. We learned that there's a ship called the Sojourner a UMN ship that was sitting outside the what they called the exclusion zone. Basically, the area that's controlled for the ring for a while, and then all of a sudden it went off the radar, and nobody had seen it since. And and in the episode they detected a whole bunch of bodies going into the ring, and before and they were able to get directional information off the momentum of the bodies and the direction of the bodies were going, as well as the velocity to map them back to where they came from. They came from the Sojourner, or where it was last known to be. And they think now that this guy that's going around popping ships on shipping lanes is responsible for this too. So that's kind of an interesting thing there. Yeah, it's really all the episode-related, story-related stuff that I wrote down about. Really interesting episode. I like where they're going with it. Characters are still themselves, which is good. I think they have the same writing staff writing this, so it's all... The continuity, character-wise, is good. I like that part at the end where whatever the hell his name is, I have no clue what his name is now, shoots the guy, and Amos is looking at him like, hot damn. So I think it's been established that Amos is bisexual. So he's like looking at this guy like shooting people, just like almost cold blood. It's like, you know, it's basically what he would do. I don't know if it was that or if it was just looking at it like in shock of what. I wouldn't be in shock. Amos doesn't get shocked, except maybe once or twice, but under really extreme circumstances. I think that was a look of like, holy hell, I'm into this crap kind of look. Because Amos is that guy. To call back to what he said in season 3, or season 2. Or was it season 3? No, it was the first half of season 3. God, season 3 has so much stuff in it. So dense story-wise, it's hard to separate that from season 2. So yeah, good episode. Ratings, I forgot all about that. So I'd rate the first episode, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 for an Expanse episode. This one I would say is also an 8 out of 10. An example of a 10 out of 10 episode for me would be the whichever episode was where they had the basically the end of Eros, where Miller goes in and is going through all this crap and everything looks insane. He finds Julia, decides to allow the protomolecule to absorb him, and they fly the asteroid into Venus. I think that episode was a 10 out of 10 episode. Another 10 out of 10 episode I would say would be... To be honest, I don't think there are any other 10 out of 10 episodes. Maybe the season 3 mid-finale, maybe the season 3 mid-finale. I'll give that a 10 out of 10 too, because that was a pretty good episode too. The one where the protomolecule finally emerges from Venus, and I think that's also where the all the stuff, the conflict between Mars and Earth is resolved in that one too. I think that whole series of episodes rolling around EO were pretty good. But I think that one would be a 10 out of 10, maybe a 9 out of 10. But I'll also give it 10 out of 10 now. I'll have to re-rate it when we get there. So far for the season, though, I'd say 8 out of 10 so far for the season. Pretty good. There are a few things that could be done better. This episode had the first hint of some continuity issues in the shots. There was a segment where, if I can find it, Let's see if I saw it correctly or not. It was like at the beginning somewhere.
Go check out crash site.
Amos, go.
So she got this thing on the side of her face here.
Just leave that on
I think in the next scene over.
Life on Earth developed using potassium, carbon, and calcium, but it could just as easily have been arsenic, silicon, and iron. To us, this looks like a machine, but on this planet, it could be an organism.
Okay, so you're gonna walk towards the camera.
To guess where it came from?
that.
If he's active.
Oh no, okay, it is. Okay, never mind. It's really hard to see, but she does have that crap on her face. Never mind. So there isn't any continuity issues. Like it's really hard to see though because of the lighting, the way the lighting hits it, almost makes it invisible. Okay, never mind then. So there aren't any continuity issues. That was the only time I noticed something that might have been one. The writing is still pretty good. There's some places where it's a little bit iffy. The whole sequence between Draper and Russarella after the dinner, for example. Yes and no, I would say for that. I mean, it sounds a little bit quirky to have Bobby kind of said what she said the way she said it. It sounded a little bit too emphatic, I guess. But I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense though, the fact that she's gone through this court-martial and a lot of people, not the general population, but the people in power and like in the MCRN and those that she would have to deal with if she was to go back into the military seemed to have a negative view on her, and it's kind of impacted her probably socially and economically as well. So I guess I can see what she's saying, you know, stop doing this, you're just going to make things worse for me. But at the same time, it sounded a little bit too whiny for her character, unless in the whatever amount of time that preceded the last season that she's kind of mellowed out more than she was before as an actual Marine. That would make sense, maybe. It sounds a little bit off character for her, a little bit. Mozzarella is on point. the writing staff for Mozzarella is on point. They're doing their job. I like the fact that she starts off with the really high level kind of I'm gonna play this game with you a bit kind of thing, and then she just drops it right into friggin' high gear and goes with that. I'm cutting through all this bullshit, and we're just gonna talk about things the way I want to talk about them. You come work for me. These a-holes don't understand your worth, so you come work for me and do something with yourself. Basically, is what she was saying. This is kind of, it was so mozzarella. It almost hurt when she said that line. No, yeah. Unless he lost a lot of weight, that's a different actor that plays her husband. I'll have to figure out what happened with that. I shall do some research, and we'll have that for the starting discussion for the episode 3 reaction. Yeah. Good job so far, Expanse. Season 4 is pretty good. Looking forward to Season 5 and the rest of Season 4. Let's see how long this goes for. I mean, if they're already making Season 4 and 5, then there's going to be a Season 6. I forget how many books there are, and I forget if they're using, like, how much material they're using per season. If it's like Game of Thrones where they're using one book per season, or if it's enough material for them to do multiple seasons out of a book. And they can also like stretch things around and add new stuff in that might not be in the books. But I think they've been pretty faithful to the books so far. But we need to get the books and kind of start reading through them and see what's different and what's not, and how faithful the series is to them. But yeah, so far so good. Don't have any real major complaints. Hence the 8 out of 10 for the season so far. So, thanks for tuning in and watching. Comments, questions, leave them below. Appreciate it if you'd subscribe, and I will see you next time.